Why be easy when you can just die? Woo! Woo! I'm Chewy Mew. Welcome to my channel, but more specifically, welcome to another Chewy Mew video where today, I'm choking on my own saliva. We're going to be taking a look at a Spider-Man figure that I got. I need to stop saying I did stuff recently because this wasn't recent. This was 5 months ago. But the figure that I have to review today is the Hasbro Marvel Legends. I think it was the Ares Build-A-Figure Wave Ben Reilly Spider-Man, whose legs are not symmetrical. Like, if we put them like this, look at those legs. Those legs are not... I mean, it's hard to show you. Okay, I'll do it like this. Like, the legs are not the same length. This one is barely shorter than his left leg, which is kind of dumb. So when you stand him, that would be straight up, right? Like, that should be how he should stand, like this. But no, he goes like that. So his body is slightly crooked, which is kind of dumb. This figure, I think, is using a brand new mold, which is, I mean, it's fine. You know, I typically complain about Hasbro these days, modern Hasbro, for reusing bodies, and it sucks because the bodies are like, they're already mediocre at best, and then there's no new detail or whatever. This is a case where I'm pretty sure this might actually be a reused body. I think the only new thing might be the head and the web shooters. I think maybe, I'm not too sure, I don't know. But this body sucks, you know. Like, Hasbro, if you're going to reuse a body, like, at the time when you're reusing bodies in the sort of Toy Biz style. By Toy Biz style, I mean ball-shaped arms and legs. At least use a good body. Like, you know, why not use, like, this body here? Or, like, you know, Big Time Letdown, Kane, Scarlet Spider. A lot of those figures used this kind of body. This is the Moon Knight body by Toy Biz. They just modified stuff, so they got rid of the individual finger joints, and they gave them a hinge and swivel here. Like, most Hasbro figures have a hinge and swivel. And they got rid of the toe joint, gave him a hinge and swivel here in the boot as well. And no ankle pivot or toe articulation. This one, at least use that other body, because that one, the articulation is good. On this one, it sucks. And then on top of that, the paint just looks kind of bad. I think the red is the best color on this figure. The head looks like a weird, faded kind of burgundy color. At first, when I saw this, I got this at Goodwill, which is a thrift store. He was in the same bag as Chameleon, along with a bunch of other junk. And at first when I saw this, I thought the head sculpt was like a resized and modified version of the Sinister Six head sculpt. We can actually pop that off. I thought it was originally a modified version of this head sculpt. Come on. Which they do look kind of similar. Not really, though. The web pattern is different. I thought they were kind of similar because they both have like a box head. And the head on this one, this body is a bit too small, I feel like, for a figure. Sinister Six Spider-Man is like the perfect height for Spider-Man. He's like barely under 6 inches tall, which is how tall Peter Parker should be. He should not be over 6 inches tall. So yeah, this one is like maybe a little too short. And then you can see the body on these. This body just looks more dynamic and has better, you know, bigger shoulders, bigger chest, and bigger legs. This one just looks kind of weird. Like, his arms are way too skinny, and then his legs are too thick. It makes him look kind of weird. And then the ball joint legs. Hasbro started doing this weird method. Instead of having legs that, you know, kick forward like this and go out to the sides like this is just one movement, that's another movement. If you want to kick out to the sides, you got to kick out like this. They don't go up as high, and they rotate, looks like they rotate lower from the pelvis. And then if you want to kick forward, you got to move it like this. That does let you move it back farther, but it does kind of impede movement. This one goes back only about that far. Mine is loose, so I got to hold it in place. But in the end, no, it ends up kind of moving the same. Never mind. This is not really a better form of articulation, considering they can't really kick high. And it looks like he's got a diaper. Like, Hasbro was terrible at making bodies and even producing figures at the time. I mean, they're not really any better now. The figures don't feel like cheapy crap anymore. As far as, like, other stuff, the head sculpt does look kind of cool, but it looks like this faded burgundy red. It doesn't look good. The body, like I said, is the best color. The arm color looks pretty good doesn't look good as well. It looks kind of bad as well. Like, only the torso, the paint apps look good on it. The Spider logo is not accurate. It just looks like a big oval with lines coming off of it. It doesn't have, like, they don't go to a point and go up. You know, kind of like oops, I'm going to use this figure for reference again. Like, kind of like the spider legs, they have a point right here. You see how it has a point? Like, it goes up and then has a point. It doesn't just go straight up. Unfortunately, they designed it where the legs just go straight up. They don't have, like, a kind of point on them, which makes the logo, it's not correct, which is unfortunate. Like I said, the arms look too skinny and the legs are too thick. It's kind of weird. It does have web shooters, and these fingers, I thought they were sculpted on. They look sculpted on, but no, they're just painted. That's probably the cleanest paint on the figure, but even then, it's kind of messed up here and there. Keep in mind, this was $15. This was in a box set where individually he would cost about $8.50. So 15, 8. Or like, let's just say 9 and 15. That's wildly different qualities. And the plastic quality on this also feels really bad. On the plastic on this feels kind of bad as well. But this just, the plastic doesn't feel very good, honestly. As far as other stuff, the webs are painted a little bit clean here. They didn't paint the lines right there or on the other side. They don't line up right. I'm tearing this figure that as well doesn't go. The web doesn't continue. It does on the front, so at least there's that. I mean, it doesn't really go back much anyway. So they did kind of sculpt up in there a little bit. The pelvis has like this weird like V line going down there, and has like a hole right where the groin would be. So that's something you can't unsee. The paint here is also kind of decent. I mean, that line is really not straight, and this one not either. The paint just looks kind of terrible on this, like on the backside. And it's not like Hasbro does like any better now. Like Renew Your Vows and Amazing Fantasy 15 and even like the Venom and Null set, those figures have a bunch of QC issues as well. So it's not like Hasbro is improved in that. All they did really improve was, if you consider improvement, they got rid of the ball joint, arms and legs. The plastic quality doesn't feel as terrible. The plastic quality still doesn't feel very good, but as far as that goes, this feels more like just like a dumb basic toy. It feels like something Toy Biz would make as like a dumb gimmick toy, not as like a superposable figure, Because Toy Biz sometimes did make dumb gimmick toys that were not meant to be anything more than dumb gimmick toys. Like this one here has a dumb gimmick, but this one actually is sculpted on web lines and stuff, and it's pretty decent posability. Not really the best, but his arms are superposable. More articulation than this one. His arms just can't go out. And like the paint just looks so much cleaner on this one. Like Hasbro really never was really good at making figures. It's not like they got better. They've always can maintain the same level of quality. The plastic now just feels gummy and gooey. This just feels like cheap and like hollow. Even the legs feel like that. But as far as articulation goes on this guy, the head can look up pretty much all the way. That's better than a lot of dumbbell joints Hasbro's using. You can look down pretty much all the way. You can rotate all the way around. The arms go up pretty much almost all the way. This guy, his arms don't go up that high, but he does have armpit joints to allow for extra movement. So, there's that. I love comparing figures to Sinister Six because he's like the pinnacle of articulation when it comes to Spider-Man figures. The arms rotate all the way around. They're super ratchety and they're squeaky, so that's kind of weird. He has a bicep swivel, which, that always works. Perfect double bend in the elbow. Better than, like, Renew Your Vow Spider-Man. You get a rotation here in the wrist and a hinge in the wrist. Same thing on this hand. You just get a fist here. When I first got it, the web shooters were down like this, so I couldn't use the hinge, so I had to, like, push them back up to make it work. The ab crunch goes forward kind of decent. Actually, not too bad for this. And it goes back, not really at all. That's default right there. That's back, so not much. The waist swivel, is the waist swivel. He can barely almost not do the splits. And like I showed, he has these weird, like, I think they call them Y joint legs or Y legs. Because there's like the T hips, which, this guy's the T hips. Like, kicking like this normally. This one has like, I guess Y hips, which Y stands for, why would you do that? That's really weird. So you get a thigh swivel as well. You get double bend in the knee, which is, pretty good. The foot goes almost all the way back. Goes pretty far forward. You don't have an ankle pivot, but honestly, Hasbro ankle pivots are just fine. I feel like Toy Biz ankle pivots are significantly better because you actually get like pivoting. The other one you just get like ankle rotation, which this one doesn't work as good, but you get ankle pivot, that's pretty good. What you can do if you don't have ankle pivots is you just rotate the foot like that, and then you get kind of the same effect. If you had toe joints, you could probably utilize this better, but that's basically the same as ankle pivot, just different style. But as far as it goes, this figure does suck. What year is this from, though, by the way? 2007. It says, 2007 Marvel, and then this one here says Hasbro 2007 made in China. So it has to say the year 2007 twice, so you know what year it is, in case you missed it. But yeah, this figure just looks bad, and people complain about Toy Biz proportions. That's fair, but this one, his thighs are way too thick. This looks like a diaper. His arms are too skinny. The paint apps are sloppy. The articulation is mediocre. I mean, it's fine for a character that doesn't need a lot of posability. I mean, the arms are almost kind of good articulation. These just don't have any range going in or back much. All you're missing, like, as far as the arms, is, like, butterfly joint, which Hasbro's terrible at it anyway, though. Finger joints, but it's mostly these legs that work really dumb. Like, you gotta rotate it to make it work. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's just dumb. But yeah, and then the paint apps are kind of sloppy looking, and the blue looks too bright for Ben Reilly Spider-Man costume. It should be darker. Again, like, dark like this. It doesn't have to have the texture, because Hasbro can't do texture for crap, but it needs to have this kind of dark blue. Like, just take a Sharpie marker, Sharpie the blue parts a darker blue, and then Sharpie most of the red parts red, and then you have, boom, closer colors probably. And the spider leg was not even correct, but yeah, it's kind of bad. It's cheapy feeling. This isn't, listen to that squeaking sound. That's the best sound in the world. No, it's not. It's probably the worst. But either way, that's over this video. I will see you guys in the next review. Let me know what you think about this figure, and wow.